The rain in Albany today building up on many city streets. Take a look behind me at this medical transportation vehicle that's stuck in this water. As you can see here, I've got the Uber app open, but no cars here in our area available. But pretty soon that will all change. And for a city that sees so many visitors, people tell me they're looking forward to it. While the winds have mostly died down, the crews remain here. There's a lot going on behind me. As you can see, the tree remnants still here from that large tree that fell across Route 50 here. A lot has developed throughout the day. Police say they got the call initially at 1 o'clock this morning about the fight that broke out here right behind me on Madison Avenue outside Mad Lark Laundromat. The mayor addressed city employees with her State of the City speech, and again, she emphasized that she hopes for Albany to remain a sanctuary city despite this threat to pull funding. This Sleepathon is an annual event hosted by Albany's Homeless Action Committee. Now, tonight and this weekend have been issued Code Blue conditions, which is very dangerous conditions for homeless populations just struggling to stay safe. It's very exciting here tonight and a beautiful night to celebrate this grand opening. Take a look behind me here. If we take a walk, we've got a ton of people. Definitely mesmerizing. All the people, all the hats, the fashion, the fun. We talked to so many first timers and even some on the other end of the spectrum. A man who has been coming here for the past 45 opening days.
Nico is 16 and tough on the outside, but he's got the biggest heart.
Alicia DeNovo glows when she talks about her kids. That's why she calls the night of October 28th one of the worst nights of her life.
Terrible. You know, I was in shock when I got the call.
DeNovo learned her son, Nico, was the passenger in a fiery car crash. Police say the driver, 19-year-old Michael Carr, was impaired by drugs when he crashed into two other vehicles and into Blessings Tavern in Colony. 95% of Nico's body was burned.
He's not giving up. He won't. He's too tough.
6 months later, he hasn't.
Usually, you know, I go in, good morning, Nick, and you know, some days he responds, some days he doesn't.
But when he does, his family is there to see it.
It's incredible. It's a miracle.
25-year-old Michael DeNovo says he cried tears of joy when he heard his kid brother speak again.
I walk in Nico's room and I say, "Let's go, champ." He gives me a little fist bump every time I do it. 3 fist bumps. Let's go, champ.
Statistically, we're looking at a greater than 90% mortality rate, so he's survived the odds.
Dr. Joseph Turkowski is the burn program director and Nico's head surgeon. He says Nico only has about 5% of skin that's usable to cover 95% of his body, so his staff turns to skin grafting surgeries, not often used.
We take a biopsy and we send it off to a lab, and that lab grows skin for us. Okay, so, and then it comes back in little sheets, and then we can put it back on him.
The surgeries can take hours and are taxing on the many physicians involved, but they say it's more than worth it.
It's humbling. It's humbling, for sure.
Bonnie Siana is one of Nico's nurses. She says the burn unit doesn't see adolescent patients often.
Taking care of him has been more than a typical nurse-patient relationship. I really have grown to love that family.
And when that family feels down, they say it's the one they're rooting for that brings them back up.
I've seen a child who was an incredible fighter communicate his will to live to all of us.
In Westchester, I'm Lynzi DeLuccia, CBS 6 News. Joe Piazzo says he has big plans in store for this old bus.
You know, I find it odd that we can have ice cream trucks bringing, you know, ice cream and not necessarily the healthiest food to neighborhoods, but we don't have the same thing really with groceries.
Enter Green Street's Grocery.
It's a mobile grocery store. It's meant to try to fill a gap between the supermarket and a convenience store.
Piazzo hopes to turn this converted school bus into a mobile market, planning to put shelving along the interior with a refrigerator and walkable space to bring the grocery store to his neighbors living in a food desert.
There's a lot of people here that don't have good transportation or cars. There's elderly people, disabled people.
Piazzo says he's given neighbors tons of rides to the closest stores because of extra costs.
Take a taxi cab as a $20 round trip, and you add that to your food costs.
I live here on Page Street all my life. I was born on Page Street.
Resident Kevin Chairs says corner convenience stores often have prices that are all over the place.
I think this would be a gold mine for Hamilton Hill. A lot of people can't afford cabs. It's like 6 kids going in a cab. It costs you $0.25 per bag. A lot of people can't afford this on Hamilton Hill.
Piazzo plans to set up at different neighborhood corners each day. He says he's working with others to develop an app so customers can order and track his bus, and he'll likely buy in wholesale to provide the best and most affordable fruits, vegetables, and grocery staples.
It's going to be a real service. It's going to bring groceries and food to people and hopefully save them money.
We begin with continuing coverage of the storm damage from last night's flash flooding in Albany that you see here. Today, kids in the capital region had the chance to be their favorite superheroes as the second annual Sasha's Superhero Run kicked off in Mechanicville. The demolition on a downtown building from the 1800s that partially collapsed last week was completed today in Albany. You can see it here. Craig, it is definitely humid out there right now. I know we went outside for a little bit, saw some showers. Is that going to cool it down? The Saratoga County Sheriff's Office is investigating a second hit and run that happened in Half Moon this morning. String of violence and another homicide just yesterday with no suspect in custody. Residents and officials say they're fed up. On one of the hottest days of the year, residents are still asking, will more be done next summer to help residents cool down?